Welcome to the latest episode of the Comic Binge, the MCU required reading of. That's kind of freaking me out. That was really dumb. I was very immature, very amateurish of me to leave my own YouTube channel open. I heard myself. That was very weird. Anyway, welcome to the latest episode of the Comic Binge. This is the MCU required reading of the Eternals. And where exactly does the Eternals film lead us? We'll let you know, because we have a bunch of comics we read. I read a crap load of them. I know my co-host here did as well. And we're going to get into it. And we're going to invite you all to basically join us and talk about it a little bit. We're going to, spoil a little bit, but we're going to try to leave it open for you all to enjoy, because that's what we do here. We want to encourage people to read comic books. So, anyway, I am joined today by one of my faithful co-hosts, my very, very, very good friend, Mr. Chris Clow. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for having me. This should be.
You're not having you. You're part of it. Hey, you're part of this. You guys get that reference? You get a cookie.
Welcome back to World of the Psychic. I'm Peter.
We saw Ghostbusters last weekend. That was fun.
Yeah, that was.
I got my Ectomobile. I don't know if you saw it on I posted it.
I did see that. Yeah, that looks cool.
It's pretty cool. I think it's well worth it. I mean, I wish I didn't have to pay for the shipping, but it was cool. It was super cool.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, especially if it's a physical thing that's tough to find, then you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. So today, it sucks because I was just talking to Alex from Comic Book Historians, and he was like, he thought he was going to try to make the show still.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I was reading a bunch of Eternal stuff. I'm like, I thought you were busy. He's like, oh, it was my fault. I should have communicated better. I'm like, it's all good. But Alex couldn't make it today, unfortunately. But he's a baller.
You did push this a day on my account too, so.
He did think it was. I think he did think it was a day. Whatever. He was a little off, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be cool because I'm going to see Alex tomorrow.
Oh,
he's going to be cool. He's going to be at Emerald City Comic Con, and he's going to try to hook me up, and super stoked about it. So if you are going to be at Seattle Comic Con tomorrow, I'll be there, maybe, possibly. Regardless, I'm super stoked to see him. He brought his son. I'm very, very excited to meet his son too. So a lot of fun stuff. Yeah. So I'm super excited to get into it, and hopefully we'll get Alex back here soonish. But we got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today, I think. And honestly, I will have a little bit of a cool announcement, I think, at the end of the show. I'm pretty excited to talk about it. I think you already know about it, Chris. I'm not sure. I think I talked to you about it.
Maybe, but you didn't brief me that it was happening today.
No. We're doing it today.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, we'll you'll figure it out. We'll find out.
Yeah.
So anyway, today we're going to talk about what you should be reading if you watch the movie Eternals, and I know it's a very much a what's the word, lightning rod a little bit for comic book fans of films of adaptations. A lot of people are kind of split on it. I definitely liked it more the second time that I watched it. And then the first. So it's one of those things where I know a lot of people didn't know, what to expect afterwards, and it does leave a lot of things open. And so I was just kind of thinking when I was, about this episode for people who are, who were excited about the Eternals and did really like it. Where, again, there's a lot of things you could go with that are what I like to call low-hanging fruit, Chris. Low-hanging fruit is always going to be go read Jack Kirby's The Eternal series. And I'm gonna sit here and tell you right now, I think Jack Kirby's Eternal series is visually stunning. Narrative-wise, no. I'm sorry. I tried to read those a while ago, and I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. Neil Gaiman and John Romita Jr., they had their crack at the Eternals. That's solid. Not great. Just, it's okay. And when I was thinking about the Eternals, required reading, I'm like, I just don't think they're using a lot of these stories right now. I mean, besides like the regular, origin stuff. to really build off the MCU. And I was thinking, like, what exactly are they using the Eternals for the MCU, as far as like pushing the narratives, all these other storylines forward, which we know the end credit scenes tell us everything. And for me, I definitely wanted to go more towards Black Knight, because I feel like he's probably the most mysterious of the characters, as far as, you know, but you have Star Fox, the brother of Thanos. That's exciting and everything, but to me, I want to give Black Knight his due, because I feel that Black Knight Kit Harington is like a perfect match. It's so on the nose. It's perfect. I really want to get into the character, because I think he's a very much an underutilized character in the MCU, and I'm excited to talk about that. And you know, for Eternals comics, there's not a lot of material to go with, right? So I wanted to bring something up that was going to be like, if you did like those characters, what we could talk about there too. So there's a couple different things we'll talk about. And I'm not sure if you read everything, Chris, but I'll kind of go, I'll post right now. And obviously in the oh my gosh, the notes or whatever you want to call it. I always forget the description. I remember these things. I'm too new. Oh yeah. Like the video, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. You know, smash the like button like I hurt you. I don't know. Well, it's so stupid. I hate seeing that crap. It's so dumb. So this is what so this is what we're going to be reading today. Avengers Volume 1, issues 352 to 367. I forgot to include the annual 22 in there, but whatever. And then also we're going to talk about, I'm not sure if you read these or not, Chris, Eternals.
I did not read the externals. No.
Externals. Okay. Oh my God. Did I say externals? That's embarrassing. Well, you know, guess what? I think that is an X-Men team, actually. Oh my God. That's really embarrassing.
Yeah. The fusion of the two at some point in the future.
So ignore externals here. Ignore that X. Eternals 2020 issues 1 through 6. Eternals, not externals. That's embarrassing. But, you know, it wouldn't be me if it was embarrassing. So, you know.
No, it happens. Don't worry about it.
I know. That's good. I own it on 4K. I don't need to watch it on Peacock. I know. That's what I said. I'm like, shut up, Chris. Come on.
It's been a while since I've been on the mainstream. That's all. I was just...
Yeah. No, I know. It has been a while. But it is good to have. It's good to have Chris back. So today we're going to talk about. We'll go with Avengers first, and we'll kind of wrap up with the Eternals, externals, if you will. So we read issues
352 to 367.
367 and annual 22. And you know, this is the Avengers when the X-Men was like, you could not touch the X-Men. Like you just only, and again, if you read 352 all the way to 367, it ends right before a giant X-Men crossover called Blood Ties, which I read when I was a kid, and I liked a lot. And you'll see how Bob Harris really tries to, you know, he edited the team. I think he edited the X books too, right? I want to say he did. So he edited the X books and was also writing for the Avengers at the same time. And this was a book that was definitely no one cared about back in the day besides the hardcore Avengers fans. Obviously, it stayed. You know, they still made comic books and still sold it because, you know, they never canceled it, but it was definitely on the low selling. But this also in this run here, you also get Galactic Storm, which definitely is interesting, which I definitely will get to in the MCU at one point. But what I love about this run by Bob Harris, and the reason why we're reading this is because it gives my boy Dane Whitman, who is indeed, you'll see in the background here already, this really unique Avengers team. This is the Avengers team that Bob Harris kind of put together. It's loosely Captain America because he's only in it for like, I'd say a quarter of it, really. It's mainly Vision, Crystal from the Inhumans, Circe from the Eternals, Black Widow, Hercules, and the Black Knight. And that's a really unique lineup. Really unique. I really like it. And this was a really unique team. And then Bob Harris, I don't say what you want, Chris. I know you're not a huge Bob Harris fan. I don't think you are. I really liked it. I really like this run, and we'll talk about the characters a little bit and what we could expect. But I gotta tell you, there's lots of really cool stuff in here that I felt that we'll get to one major one in particular, which I think you probably know what it is, that the movie I think took from, like literally. So I'm curious, kind of your overall thoughts of reading this run by Bob Harris and Steve Epstein, by the way, which again, I was talking to Alex, which he kind of brought up a great point. He loves this era of Avengers, and he talked about Tom Palmer, the inker, and he's like, he said it's basically Tom Palmer like drawing, like he's such a heavy inker, and I'm like, well, I think Steve Epstein, Steve Epstein's pretty good. Let's be real, but he's not wrong. His Epstein stuff is. The Epstein stuff compared to this from later on is much different, a lot more smoother, I would say, later on. And these inks are definitely heavy, but I love the inks. I think the book looks great in reading it again. So Avengers 352 to 367, and with the annual 22. Chris, what are your thoughts on this run? I'm curious.
Well, when I started reading it, I was really kind of curious about why you pegged this for an Eternals reading. Obviously, there is an Eternal on the team, but you didn't really tell me ahead of time that you chose this because of the Black Knight focus. So that wasn't clear to me probably until about like the second or third issue that I was reading.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of just like taking everything in its totality, I'm sorry, man, it didn't work for me. It really didn't work for me. And I think
really,
because I think a lot of it is tied to very much what you said at the top. This was the X period, right? The X-Men were super dominant in terms of sales at the time. And you and I have had a conversation like this before, where when it comes to choosing sort of your corner of the Marvel Comics universe, your corner of it, the Avengers was always my corner. Like the Avengers was always more my corner of the 616 than the X-Men side was.
Yeah.
And this book at this period of time really does seem to have an identity crisis, because it very much reads like a 90s X-Men book, but also not quite as good. And I found that frustrating. Now the characters, I like when, there's a non-traditional lineup on a main team, at least for a little while. It's not something that I want to see as a mainstay for in perpetuity, I guess.
Sure.
And Black Knight's a cool character, and I didn't really know much about him before reading this, but I feel like he could be represented more strongly than Harris represented him.
See, I know you've got some baggage with Harris, so I want the audience to also take that into consideration too.
It doesn't really have anything to do with that, because
I
this
know
book really does seem like a symptom of its time in trying to chase Avengers or chase X-Men success. Because Avengers was really kind of down in the dumps in terms of sales, but
absolutely, yeah.
You have stories like this; it's kind of easy to see why.
See, I disagree with that, because I thought, for one, I really like the Swordsman stuff. I like the Proctor stuff. The Proctor stuff is really cool.
Like a stupid name, though. I had a Proctor on my math test when I was a sophomore in high school.
Why are you so hating on Proctor, dude? Come on.
Well, they telegraphed who he was really early.
I still don't know what he was. I wanted to keep reading. I know he's supposed to be, somebody's ex-husband. Wink. But
there was no mystery involved in it, and they had they had a lot of these cool ingredients, right? Like the Watcher shows up in the middle of it.
That was awesome.
And that's supposed to, it's that always makes you stand up and pay attention, or at least it's supposed to. That's something
right.
That any good Marvel writer, you only pull out very, very particularly. Because that's supposed to amp up the tension about what are we about to see? What does he know that's coming down the pike? And really, when it comes to, honestly, the most compelling thing, and I texted you earlier today, was the Coal Tiger. I like the Coal. He was in it for like what? I don't know, four or 5 pages total. And the Coal Tiger was cool. And it was really cool seeing that really brief tete-a-tete that he had with T'Challa. Yeah, that page.
Okay. So I want to make. There's a couple different things about this. I really liked that the Proctor, because this is why I think this is why I pegged the series a little bit for post MCU, because it deals with the Supreme Intelligence and Galactic Storm, which we'll get at in a second, and that's kind of a whole different episode, obviously. But you've got the Supreme Intelligence and Black Knight. You got the Swordsman, who's now introduced in the Hawkeye series.
Well, a version of him anyway.
Well, whatever, you know what I mean. But that version. And then you've got multiverse stuff with the Proctor and what they're doing with the Coal Tiger there for a minute. You've got the Eternal things that happen later on that is a direct reflection in the comic books or in the movie. And then you have... kind of more of like of them kind of interacting together, like fighting against Proctor, or what their Vision, a lot of Vision stuff in there, which I thought was great, which we'll get to that in a minute. And I think just kind of more, and again, the annual, you talk about the Ebony Blade, like there's lots of explanations of the Ebony Blade there. So
yeah, it was a fine information dump, but it wasn't a very good comic book reading experience.
I disagree. I'm not looking to read freaking like The Watchmen every issue. I wanted to be entertained.
I am.
Of course you are. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Right. Yeah. I hold every book to the lofty standard.
No, but come on. But listen, like these aren't like mind blowing things. But I'm not thinking of them as like pure like, oh, this is so amazing, or this is great reading. I mean, I want people who are excited to learn about the MCU. That's what I want them to read these for, because I do think there's value of learning about these characters. Like you said yourself, you learned a lot about information dumps, and that's kind of what these are. I mean, a lot of stuff in the 90s, especially the X-Men books. I want to make it very clear. I don't think Bob Harris, you can hate him, like him, I don't care. But I'm going to be honest here, and I'm not biased because I think he's fine. I don't think he's amazing. I don't think he's great. But as an editor or a writer, either way,
he's got a pretty problematic history now. I'll put it that way.
Well, whatever. I mean, I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about the 90s. Okay, the 90s. What's that?
It paints it.
I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest.
You can't argue that he was, especially at this time too, he was a really powerful figure in comics. And
well, sure, I guess, yeah.
And you listed off all of the ingredients and all of the singular things that take place and transpire over the course of this story, which makes it seem like it should be better. But unfortunately, it just like, yeah, those moments in and of themselves are pretty cool. They don't really combine into anything that's particularly compelling for the positions that these characters are in. The romance, for instance, certainly not Shakespeare. George Lucas writes way better romances than Bob Harris does.
I mean, I actually disagree 100%. I'm sorry.
No.
Dude, no.
Anakin and Padme any day of the week.
No, God, no. Listen. You can hate Bob Harris. It's fine. But
hey, man, that was the first time I mentioned his name. All right.
Listen,
I'm just focusing on what these stories brought to the table.
And this is not meant to be a slight to you at all, my friend. You know me. I don't need to say this, but I gotta ask you this, and I'm not obviously mean this in a derogatory way, but have you actually read the X-Men 90s books? I'm talking about the early, like the 90s. We're talking like post Claremont after issue 3.
Not post Claremont, no.
Exactly.
Some of them. Well,
don't tell me Bob Harris.
That's not totally true. I have read some of them, but
okay, how about
a lot
this?
of them, because 90s comics in general are not my best.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
This story is why.
Now, but what I'm going to tell you right now is that I think you're coming at it pretty hard, because I'm indifferent. And I came into it and I read it and I thought, again, there's great character stuff with Dane Whitman. I think there's lots of great stuff there. His lightsaber, which I'll post here right now, if you all didn't see it, this is pretty ridiculous. And I was one. Go ahead.
Granted, I didn't even mention the artwork yet, but I'm a big Steve Epting fan, a very big Steve Epting fan, and it's really cool to see his work at this point in time when you couldn't really rely on modern coloring techniques to bring out some of the additional nuance in the pencils and the inks. But Epting's work here is impeccable. And additionally, in 362, there was a guest penciler. His name is Gordon Purcell, And Gordon Purcell is very well known to Star Trek comics fans.
Great.
He had a long run on several DC Star Trek series, impeccably recreated likenesses of the original characters. And weirdly enough, reading more about him, he was a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in 2005, and he won $50,000. And he lost on Jeopardy in 2010. So obviously a pretty smart guy too.
Weird.
But his pencils, that issue in particular, I had to do a double take because first of all, it seemed recognizable because I had read his stuff in Star Trek before, but I didn't put a name to the artwork until I read his issue of Avengers this time. But the line work was also really strong. And I don't have anything bad to say about the artwork, except for maybe like one of the epilogues where Widow's explaining to Cap what's been happening recently since he's been gone. That was a little bit on the iffier side for me personally, but overall, the artwork is what kept.
I think we lost Chris. I think we lost him. Uh-oh. Gonna have to fly solo here for a minute. I think what Chris was trying to say was how great Steve Epting was, and Bob Harras actually isn't that bad of a writer, right, Chris? Are you there? Uh-oh. No, you're still robot man. Here, I'm gonna remove you. Hello. So anyway, as Chris gets his stream figured out, what he was saying about Bob Harras, and for those who don't know, Bob Harras basically was the writer of the Avengers, as we were saying, but he's also the editor of the team, or of all the X books. And so with all of that, Bob Harras had a lot of, like he said, power. And back in the day, in the 90s, and obviously, and I think probably the 70s and the 80s and 90s, basically editors were editing all these books, but also freelancing as writers for other random stories. Like, even Tom DeFalco, who was the editor in chief, was writing multiple stories, and he was a freaking head guy. It was kind of a weird time, basically these writers and everyone trying to make extra Skrilla, if you will, on these books while they're doing their day jobs. And it was kind of financially a smart, genius idea, to be honest. So no ill will there. But with Bob Harras, I think when I think of that run, and I want to keep reading it, by the way, because again, we end on 367. That's what we're covering on this show. Blood Ties is right after that, and that's literally the X book, the X crossover, where you have Crystal and Quicksilver's daughter, Crystal from the Inhumans, and Quicksilver's daughter is basically being kidnapped by the Acolytes, as Magneto's team, and trying to they're trying to basically take Magneto's granddaughter and make her into something that she's not, this messiah, if you will. So the Avengers get involved and the X-Men get involved. It's on Genosha. It's mass hysteria. So it's pretty crazy. But I remember reading some of those comics then. I didn't think they were bad. Just the team, they're wearing brown jackets with big A's on them. Like here, I'll show you. If you see Black Knight's little thing here, you'll see that he's basically wearing an X-Men suit, and Circe. Well, actually, not just him. Obviously, Circe, Crystal, and yeah, it's very common for these '90s people to do this. It's pretty crazy, to be honest. Aw. Oh God, Alex, I miss you, man. We'll see you tomorrow, though, if you're listening. But yeah, Alex will be back. We'll get him back. He told me he was too busy, then he tried to make it. I didn't even know. That's how cool he is. He's a good dude. He's good people. So anyway, as you can see here, Black Knight, Circe, Crystal, they're wearing X-Men jackets, basically. And it's one of those things where it's everyone was trying to do, emulate the X-Men success. But I want to go and just really focus on this team here for a minute. If you'd exclude Crystal and Hercules, this very much could be a team to look at, and it's very interesting. You got Cap, obviously, everyone loves Cap. Black Widow, everyone loves Black Widow. But seriously, Vision and Black Knight, just a really interesting team dynamic that you very well could see in the MCU going forward. And I don't think it was a mistake that they're introducing these characters and you're introducing this Vision as well. And also want to say, for the record, that not only is it, Vision in the series, but it's got White Vision in this series. So what does that mean? Well, we come into the series knowing who Vision is, but he is, as you see here, it's really funny. This is Vision, White Vision, and he's pretty much the main focus of the main Vision, which we later get OG Vision, as we get right here. And again, I love OG Vision. OG Vision's so good. It's just a classic design. So yeah, like we got Vision, and this all takes on basically, it tells you the story of how this new Vision, basically turns into the old Vision, and there's some great stories there that I think Bob really hits on, especially this issue in particular, the last one, 367. This was a fantastic issue. I loved it. I freaking love this comic book. Really good story stuff here, and that's why I'm going to disagree with Chris a little bit. I'll let him defend this idea here, but I really liked it. I really liked this whole like character arc that he takes Vision on, because basically you're seeing Vision. He used to be a carrying android, and then when White Vision comes in, very much like in WandaVision, he is this soulless thing. And now you have that soulless thing that Bob Harris and the Avengers West Coast bring in and the team. And then now when OG Vision shows up, as I like to call him, OG Vision, he comes back into the team and he's starting to reconnect with those feelings, but he doesn't know how to handle them or doesn't know what they are. They're all new to him. And he's struggling with that at the very end here, which I really liked. And I think Bob really gets into the psyche of Vision really, really well. That is a little underrated in my opinion. I'm curious if Chris will give, which I'll eventually hopefully will show up here. I'm hoping that Chris will give Bob his due a little bit on this one, because I really think that it's a good solid run. Because Chris isn't here, I'll kind of talk about the Eternals a little bit, or as I like to put, the externals. Yes. So Eternals 2020 issues 1 through 6 and the one shots. Now, I want you all to know that, again, I'll say at the beginning, and then Alex, I don't know if you're listening or if or anything like that, but Chris is back. Okay. But Alex, I'm not sure if you're listening or not. If you are, hit me up in the comments here. The Eternals comic books, not exactly super great, but hold that thought. Hit me up in the comment, my friend. I'll post anything you say. I'm curious what you think of the Eternals comic books leading up to the movie. Chris, I'm not sure if you heard any of what I said.
No, but I had to reset my router.
It's all good, bro.
Of course I did. Right when I was on a roll, and then you dragged my name through the mud saying, "Oh yeah, Chris was saying Bob Harris is awesome."
No. I know you weren't. But I just got done explaining that I think, and I was very curious what you thought. I think 367 is a great Vision issue. I really liked it.
I agree with you.
I knew you would agree with me because it's a good solid comic book.
It's a character story.
And Bob nails it.
And honestly, the idea of having to try and explore the implications of like this emotional roller coaster, I don't even know how else to more adequately describe it than that. But he felt, and then he was reconstructed and lost all emotion, and Bob was leaning a little too hard on Spock in the way that he wrote Vision for my taste. But
stop it.
He said illogical a lot, which I just went, man, there's more than one way to write an emotionless robot. I'll just say it that way. But
so hateful. You
don't get that from me very much.
No, this is really. You're right. This is not going the way I thought it was. I mean, you are going to town. I forgot that you didn't like Bob Harris until I just now realized.
Going to go the way you think.
No, we're gonna murder people in their sleep.
I told you, hey, I murder this run in its sleep. It would probably be doing a favor to.
It's not that bad. Not even close.
Look, I'm not going to say that it's that. I'm just, you know, I like to. I don't get the
But-
chance to do this very much. So
No, you don't.
You got to
But-
give me a chance here.
That should show you. That should show people now that if you even like that issue of a Vision, there is good stuff in there. I think there's more stuff in there than you give it credit for.
That it's a worthless reading experience.
Okay,
I would
that's
never
fair.
say that, but I mean, just in terms of the ability for him to string together events that are compelling. Look, it might have benefited me because I've never read Galactic Storm. Maybe that would have helped having more of a baseline.
I don't think so.
Well, maybe not. I mean, it was the basis of a video game, which, you know, I think we tried that, didn't we? Didn't we try Galactic Storm? It was definitely an arcade game. It was like an early 3D arcade game, which was kind of interesting. But
No way. Galactic Storm never was a video game. There's no way.
look it up right now. Avengers in Galactic Storm was the title of the game. And while you're doing that,
Okay, continue.
yeah, so the nice thing about some of the more character specific work across most of these issues is that when it was focused on an individual, that was when it was the most engaging.
I'll
And
agree with
that's
that.
really problematic in a team book, you know, because granted, you know, I'm not saying that team books are easy for even seasoned comic book professionals to write. You and I have had a conversation about like Brubaker's Secret Avengers, for instance, and where he said, I cut it off at 12 because it was too difficult since I couldn't give everybody their due. Writing team books is hard. I'm not going to take that away. But if you have the assignment for a long period of time, then you should probably try and execute on a vision that, no pun intended, that incorporates the journeys of everybody in a more compelling fashion. I really felt like reading all of these issues, first of all, the use of the Eric Thor was really throwaway. He was only in one or two of them before they said, "Oh, go read Thor."
He was in a good chunk. He was I think almost half of it.
Really?
Honestly, yeah, he
Well,
was.
that kind of furthers my point then.
No,
And
he's
Herc,
very
too.
prevalent. He's
Herc
pretty
was-
prevalent.
Herc was a prevalent character as well, but they didn't really have him do anything outside of bloviate, and kind of used him as a barometer for the enemies that they were fighting. Like, oh, if they took Herc out, oh gosh, then they must be a big deal because Herc is a mountain of strength. And it's just
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but like I don't think that's most of people writing team books really for the most part back in the 90s and the 80s and
Maybe.
and everything. I mean, that's again, I think you're not wrong, but excuse me. I don't think it's a detriment. You can't look at it and say, well, this is way worse than all the other ones. And that's my point. Is
what
I
are the
think
years of this run? Can you
90, I want to say 92, 93, I think, or 94. I think 92, 93, if I'm not mistaken.
And and one thing I will absolutely give you, because during this time, it's not like there was an A roster on the Justice League either. You know, it was very. If you read Death of Superman, which was around that time,
Yeah.
you know, you had Fire and you had Blue Beetle and you had Booster Gold. I mean, I love those characters, and Martian Manhunter was posing as Bloodwind, and it was a weird.
Wait, he was
weird time
Bloodwind?
in general. Yeah,
Like the black guy?
yeah.
He was. Why does he play? Oh, so weird.
Is a weird time, right? I mean,
I like
a lot of
Bloodwind
the-
too.
Yeah, he was fine for the amount of time that he was in those stories. But all of that to say is that chasing after X-Men level sales was not restricted to one book or even one publisher in terms of
Right.
mainstream comics. You know,
Right,
Justice League
right.
probably fell into that too. The only books that really seemed to feel different at the time, at least based on, you know, people that I've spoken to who read the books in the moment when they were coming out. Obviously, Killing Superman really shook the boat, and stuff that they were doing with Dixon was doing, frankly, in the Bat books at the time. And then, you know, you had the X-Men because they were just so popular. Not that they were super great books per se, but they were interesting. But the 90s has a very, very representative id about it when it comes to going back to read these stories. And again, cool ideas like off the wall rosters for the teams and uniting disparate characters that otherwise wouldn't be spending time together. But you have to tell interesting stories with them too. And
I think you're being a little too harsh on it. In my opinion, I think you're being too harsh. I like the characters. I like Sloth. I liked Cassandra. I liked Magdalene. I liked Proctor. Again, they're not world beaters, but I definitely enjoyed it way more than I was anticipating, because I was anticipating to not like it very much.
When did you read this first?
I read these scattered throughout the years, and then I didn't sit down and read the whole thing. But
so what was the story, if you can remember this far back anyway, because maybe you can't? What was the story that made you fall in love with Black Knight first?
I think honestly, it was probably that. I'll show you. This is the issue I really liked about it. I read the last issue randomly, which, by the way, I got this from Marvel Unlimited. Look at this. Look at these creases. This is them. This is their own catalog scan. That's their cataloged version. It's just bent to hell. You know, the slab on this thing would be like a 3.9 or something like that, or from the comics, whatever crap load it is. This is a comic I read. I love this comic. And I just like the fact that he just came like a off kilter. And so you're probably wondering, like, why did I pick these things for Black Knight? I feel that this kind of gives you a good idea about what Dane Whitman can be. I think very much you're going to have, I think, a love triangle, I think, at some point in the MCU for Circe and Black Knight. I think there's going to be something like that there. I think there's lots of good, compelling story there. I thought it was pretty funny, Chris. They stole Mad Worry from this run.
Mad Worry? What do you mean?
So you know how, remember in Eternals, the Angelina's character has the Mad Worry, all the memories?
Oh, okay.
It pretty much, I'm almost positive. I feel that if this was the Mad Worry thing was
I didn't read it that way because it's very strangely spelled.
It is, right? Yeah. Right. But this is Bob Harris, I think, is the reason why the Mad Worry exists.
I mean, in the movie, they took a totally different tack with it, right?
Well, like they do and they don't. They took pretty much the heart and the essence of what they were going with, and it's still there. It's
attacking a team member.
Well, no, because she still is losing. Because I'll be honest, I actually like the Mad Weary that thing more than I'd like the movie version, because the comic version is basically, because she's still mortal, and this is why I don't really love the movie, what they did with this. They made them like almost like synthetic visions that can procreate, maybe. I don't know.
It's a very different take on that.
It's just that's not my favorite part of the movie, to be honest. But I will say that what Harris did with this was, he said the Eternals are not gods. And because they're not gods, they cannot they live for so long, their minds start to decompress because of all the information they have in their heads. And so they eventually have to get them drained out. And because she's going crazy, because she's been lived for so long, she hasn't rebooted her brain yet. I think that's way more interesting than what the movie did. But that's just me.
They're actually like human, though.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because they're human, they can't because they're not gods. They
can't really reboot their brain.
Well, they still drain it, though. They make them die and rebirth. Does that make sense? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have to basically reboot their mind. Is what they're saying, and this kind of what they do in the movie, but it's a little bit different. I like this explanation way more than the movie version. So
I mean, the function of it was fine, but the resolution of it was just really like,
because it wasn't because we also haven't got a resolution. If you stop reading at 267, you don't really know what's going on.
No, but what I mean is just the creation of the conflict in that moment between the Avengers and the Eternals just seemed really contrived. Like, if they had gone, if Harris had decided to just go deeper instead and explore, well, first of all, so when they do connect and they have that kind of square off, then the Avengers naturally come to her defense and
Yeah.
try to ward off the Eternals.
Which, let's be real, that could happen too.
Yeah, maybe
that's gonna happen in the future in MCU movies. I mark my words, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
My point is though that in that moment you weren't totally sure that's what she had. It was just what the Eternals were saying she had. And you're naturally going to be on this reading the Avengers. You're naturally going to be on the side of the Avengers saying, whoa, hold your horses. If you're really this sure about something, then let us find out, but you don't have to kill her. And that conflict to me, while the Mad Worry itself was interesting, the conflict itself fell flat for me.
Again, it was meant to bring in the idea that something's wrong with Cersei, and he definitely elevated. I think Bob Harris made the Eternals much more interesting with this whole dynamic. Again, maybe he didn't. I'm pretty sure that was a Eternals a Bob Harris thing, because the way that it's written, it feels like it's the first time it's there, and it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like the way it's written, it just seems like it's all like, oh, by the way, this is new.
They go out of their way to point out that this is a thing, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they would do that if it had happened before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it sounds, for me, I think there's lots of great Black Knight stuff. Now, I want to, really quickly, before we move the Eternals or Externals, the Black Knight annual, I thought if you want to get a good sense of Dane Whitman, I think this is a good run. Again, you get good white. One thing I want to talk about, or I talked about when you were gone, White Vision stuff. A lot of great White Vision stuff I thought in here, and you get OG Vision with the costume. I thought Vision was one of the better highlights of the books, to be honest. Which I think Vision's going to be still a member of the Avengers at some point in the movies coming forward. I think so. And then I think there's great stuff with Black Knight. I think there's lots of great stuff with Cersei, because Cersei obviously is going to be a major player going forward in the MCU at the end of this movie. I mean, she's like the standout character. She's one of the best characters in the movie, let's be real.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to take a lot of everything beat for beat from this run, but I think there's elements there. I think she gets Mad Worry at one point. Was that?
I said, God, I hope not.
No. I think she's going to get the Mad Worry at one point. I think there's potential. I think there's definitely going to be some kind of love triangle, because there's a whole angle of, Dane Whitman can't live forever, and she can. So what does that mean? And I think one thing they're obviously going to go with, and I thought was very interesting, because the lightsaber that Dane Whitman has in the story, Chris, which I thought was hilarious, by the way. The lightsaber that he has is like, I always thought it tied to the ebony blade in that he was like, all right, get rid of it. And it was a bigger storyline, and I never knew what happened. So when I started this run, I'm like, we're going to get the origin of the lightsaber. And it's literally just like, oh, I constructed a lightsaber to join the 21st century.
Yeah.
I was like, that was a little bit of a letdown. Not gonna lie.
I mean, look, it's a means to an end, right? Like, that's the thing that I think, or one of the things I think that bugs me about a lot of this run, is that it's very mechanical. Like I said, there were a lot of explanations.
Look at this,
and
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's
Epstein. That's Epstein, though. It's Epstein and Palmer doing their thing.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, it feels kind of mechanical in the way that it offers exposition, and that made the whole, like, this was a lot of issues to read that were like this. The 352 to 367, that's a lot of books. And not that there weren't a couple of standouts in there. Naturally, there are going to be, but the mechanized way. Oh yeah,
this was so. This one, yeah. We don't want to talk about everything, but I'm really quick, Chris. I thought this was so funny. This is the Grim Reaper. He's nasty. Now, and this was Len Kamenisky, by the way. This is a guy who I read.
Not Harris, yeah.
Yeah, I like this stuff too. I thought the Grim Reaper stuff was a little ridiculous, but it was actually pretty fun.
I was curious why you included that story in this.
It's all again. It's just more Black Knight stuff, because Black Knight's kind of featured on it a little bit. It just you get a good run of the characters, I think, and see them in work and how they all interact together with White Vision.
Yeah, fair point. But also too, who my favorite Marvel character is, right?
Captain America.
So I was biding my time until Steve showed up,
And
Steve's impact on this story was non-existent.
What? Are you kidding me? He's in there to basically right the ship.
As soon as he got back, that was the moment.
He got attacked.
Then it was over.
We got attacked.
Captain America's back. Awesome. Let's go to the next issue.
Anyway. Yeah, well, I think
so we could have the
because they got whatever. I really liked it. Because also you're also building out the fact that he left because of Black Knight killing the Supreme Intelligence. So
yeah,
I mean,
you didn't include that in the reading list, so I had to find.
Well, I mean, the Galactic Storm stuff. It's a whole different book. Which, by the way, you were right. It is a video game. It's a fighting game. I had no idea. That's crazy.
Maybe we'll have to try it sometime.
Yeah, we will for sure. So I think. To me, there's lots of great stuff in this run that I think is worth reading if you're really into the Eternals. There's lots of, I think, stuff with Circe and Black Knight. They're going to get a lot of great material to dive into, and that's exciting for me. I think so. Again, if you like Dane Whitman, or if you like what the last end credit scene with the Ebony Blade, what the heck is going on? My daughters are going crazy upstairs. My daughter's awake. That's not good. Yeah, so that's going to be very interesting for me to. We'll see if my dogs will shut up and she'll go back to bed. But anyway, yeah. So I just think there's a lot of good stuff here. If you really like those characters, this is a good run to go on. So again, Black Knight. I'm curious. Tell me what you think of Black Knight, and we'll kind of go from there. I'll be right back. I'm going to check on things upstairs, but sure. We're going to talk about Black Knight. I'll throw it up here, Chris, for you to kind of talk about.
Okay. No, I mean, Black Knight himself as a character, I thought that this series did a generally pretty good job in terms of defining what makes him kind of leadership material, because as we've established already, Captain America's gone by this point. And there's a vacuum in terms of recognizable members of the roster of this iteration of the Avengers. And Vision is there, but he's also not necessarily himself, because it's White Vision. So he's, for all intents and purposes, a shell of his former self in terms of whether or not he actually has the ability to be who he used to be. He doesn't have the imprint of Wonder Man to base his personality off of. And actually, when Wonder Man had the opportunity to provide it again, he refused. So Vision was just kind of existing as a shell of his former self, at least in terms of his mind and his consciousness. So Vision was really the only recognizable member of the roster until Cap came back. Black Widow was there, but Black Widow, I think her best stories were still yet to come. And she wasn't quite as much of a prominent Avenger as she would later be, obviously. But in terms of kind of fulfilling the leadership position of who Black Knight is and who he's supposed to be, he's a respectable character who stands as a different, but also sort of prototypical leader. The way that he kind of tries to unify the team over the course of all of the stories that we read in this run, there was something fun there, and there was something that was recognizable in terms of what is expected from the person who's charged with leading the Avengers. If any of the gripes that I have about Black Knight, they're not necessarily focused on the character himself as much as parts of the way that he was written over the course of the issues, because it's almost like Harris is trying to model him a little bit too much after Captain America, because he's the de facto leader of the team during this time. But in terms of the character himself, there's a lot of really interesting backstory there for a writer to explore. And I'm not sure if he was used to the maximum of his potential in these stories specifically.
I disagree a little bit that he's trying to make him be like Captain America, because to me, he's very different character-wise in so many ways.
In the issues where Cap was absent, though,
I felt that they was different. I don't think there's any real. I never got that they was trying to be Captain America 2.0 ever. That's just me. But again, I do think it shows you that he's got leadership skills and that there is potential, because I'll be honest, I've said this on the MCU show MCU fan show before. I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe's future is going to be splitting in many different directions. And I mean that like before, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I think like instead of having like one clear narrative, it's going to be like the comic books, Chris. It's going to have like divisions of, you'll have the Avengers stuff, there's some cosmic stuff, you'll have the street stuff, and it'll literally be a kind of they'll kind of intertwine and blur here or there, and maybe they'll have a big like collective, thing. But I definitely feel like there's going to be like multiple Avengers teams with different films, and not just Young Avengers, which I do think that needs to happen. That's a whole different podcast. But I do feel like the Black Knight could be, and seriously, could be definitely characters in an Avengers team that Black Knight will be leading. I just think that. I mean, seriously too. I mean, seriously could definitely lead that too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think she did a great job in the Eternals, but I think there is leadership qualities in this character, or maybe even seriously in Black Knight being the leaders, the relationship leading the teams. You see that, I think, in this book, at least from the Black Knight perspective. So, and again, if I always tell people, don't waste your time reading a Wikipedia page. This is why I'm saying, like, I'm not saying these books are like groundbreaking, but I think people should read.
I would much prefer people read the actual stories.
Yeah,
to get the information.
So what I'm trying to say is about, if you want to read a good origin and know about the Black Knight and Dane Whitman and what that whole shenanigans is about the Black Knight, this is a great issue, in my opinion, to read if you want to learn about the Black Knight. Don't read a Wikipedia page. Don't go to Comics Explain. Let him go, let me tell you what happened in the book. Fuck that. I hate that shit. I'm sorry. Fuck that guy. You can tell him I said it. He has, he's making a bunch of money and he doesn't give a crap what I think. But no, seriously, if you go out there and spoil books on a regular basis for money, fuck you. Anyway, I just want to say that for the record. So anyway, this book though, yeah, fuck you. This book, I feel, is seriously great. As far, not great writing, or it's fine. It's not bad or anything. I don't think it's whatever. I do think that this Avengers comic book is definitely worth reading if you want to learn about the Black Knight. He's not wielding the ebony blade at this point, but it talks about, I think, the importance of it, what it represents, what it could mean. Again, it's teased at the end of Eternals, which I love that scene, by the way. I think that scene's great. The sword looked great, by the way. The sword looked amazing. It just kind of gives you more of the insight of what they're going to be bringing into the MCU with this ebony blade. So again, you don't have to read a Wikipedia page. You can just read this comic book and it tells you everything you need to know. It's perfect. That's why I love comics. So Chris, I know you didn't have a lot of knowledge of Black Knight. I had to, when I was checking on my daughter for a second. What was your take on this issue? I'm again, not like great writing, but as far as learning about the Black Knight and that kind of stuff.
No, it was effective. It was effective exposition. And again, the character himself, I like the idea of this rather atypical choice to lead the team in a time of need after a major disruption like Galactic Storm was. It makes sense. And I feel like this is a character that I could get behind if, the story was a little bit more compelling. But in terms of just learning about him, yeah, I absolutely recommend this issue. Sure.
And again, I want to say that for record, I don't think this issue is bad. I mean, it was a one-shot annual to set up a new villain. I mean, I think this was a part of that whole new character, kind of like Blood Ties. This was.
Let me just make clear too. I don't know if I would necessarily characterize any of these issues as like bad.
You seem kind of negative on them. I'll be honest.
Because they just didn't.
Because they are.
They didn't stir anything in me.
But I don't think.
Hey, that happened. Oh, that's where that.
But do comics always have to stir you to make you want to read them? I can read a book and be like, cool, I read that. That's fine.
Okay, well, I guess by that standard, then yeah, I guess they were pretty bad.
Wow! Damn, bro.
Yeah, you're right. Look, I mean, like if I read an issue of Batman, just a monthly issue.
I think you're just way more harsh than I am. I think.
Really though,
dude,
this is like the first time I've ever been.
No, you're critical. You're pretty critical. Listen.
Give me an example.
Give me some time. Give me some time. All right. Anyway. Oh, maybe I don't. I don't know. I can't. I'm not really thinking straight. If I did have a better example, if one was clear, I'd have more of an argument. I'll give you that. So
the characters are absolutely worth reading about, and reading the comics themselves is always going to be the primary recommendation of this show.
Absolutely.
I would never tell someone not to read these stories if they're interested in learning about the characters,
because these are good tools to learn about the characters. And you're also like you get to enjoy the artistic viewpoint of what it makes to make a comic book and what these characters,
reading comics. If you want to get the full fat comic book reading experience, then you can't just read good comics. You also have to read
okay comics.
Or
these aren't stink. This is not a stink. I feel like this is not a stinker. This issue in particular is not a stinker.
This issue was okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This issue was fine.
But I've already said it. You know what I think.
But I know you hate Bob Harris. It's fine. You hate Bob Harris. I get it. I
don't love him.
Anyway, wrapping up the Avengers run in Black Knight.
That reminds me.
Go ahead.
You know what this reminded me of?
Yes.
New 52. And who was editing DC
at the time?
This feels very much like, okay, let's try all these new things, and we're going to pull people from all these sorts of different directions. We're going to tell these new titles, and things are going to go in crazy directions. Blah, 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 blah. And that was what happened here. So it's like this is the proto New 52. Yeah,
whatever. It's whatever. But listen, again, if you want to learn about the Black Knight, I think this is the best run. Actually, it sucks because Alex told me Alex Grant from Comic Book Historians, my buddy, our buddy, I should say. He told me about Roy Thomas and these other writers that were writing these the Hulk England series that they were doing. These they were like just like 5-6 page backup stories, and they were continuing on. And it's all black and white, and there's some crazy like stories with Black Knight in there that I thought were really cool, but they never reprinted them. They're just in limbo, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. If you know where to get them. But it sucks because I'm like, yeah, like that would be rad for them to put out, which maybe they will at one point when they eventually do more Black Knight stuff in the future. But yeah, like those are pretty cool too. So if you want to read about the Black Knight. Again, I'm going to throw it up here and remind my misspelling of Eternals to Externals here. But again, read Avengers, I think 352 to 367. The Galactic Storm series is in here, but read it. It's still good. We'll eventually cover it in the show. Avengers Annual 22. You'll learn even more about the Ebony Blade. Good stuff there. Now, we'll end really quickly on not the Externals, but the Eternals. I don't know why he's putting Externals. It's so embarrassing. Issues 1 through 6 and some one shots. Now, this is the trade that just came out, and Kieran Gillen and Asad Ribic are the ones doing the creative team. And again, the art, everything about this book is great. Now, I'm gonna go on a limb and say this, and this is probably not saying much to be honest, but win's a win, I think, right? Take it what you can. This is definitely the best Eternals comic books you're going to read, bar none, without a doubt. And this is including Neil Gaiman and freaking John Romita Jr. I mean, like two powerhouses still couldn't write the Eternals. Kieran Gillen and Asad Ribic go in and they nail this mother. And it's complex, okay? It's not exactly something you can just go and like the Avengers comics we just read, Chris, and be like, okay, cool. Like, I think there is something to those too, which I like. I like junk food comic books. That's what I would call it. This is definitely a lot more going out to, if I compare it to food. If the Avengers series was like McDonald's, that's what I would say it'd be like, McDonald's or Burger King. The Eternals is a lot more like a little more like a Red Robin. It's like that's not even fair. I would say not even Red Robin. That's not even. I think it's better than Red Robin. I would say it's
the Outback.
Yeah, Outback. I was literally just gonna say Outback. I never even been to Outback, but it's a little upper echelon. Red Lobster.
Outback. We'll get you a blooming.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Red Lobster. Whatever. One of those things. it's really solid, like good stuff, like, you know, Olive Garden, if you I'm going crazy with the food stuff. But I think this Eternal series is so worth picking up. If you like the Eternals movie at all, and you're like, yeah, I like those characters, you know what? You could read those old comic books by Jack Kirby, but you know what? Don't even waste your time reading the books. Just look at the pictures because they're incredible. The Neil Gaiman, John Romita Jr. stuff is solid. It's not great. This is a really complex, compelling story that I think really gets into the heart of what makes the Eternals tick, literally, and also figuratively, I think, as characters. And it's really, really well done. And it's really not just it's way more interesting, I think, than even the movie, to be honest, in my opinion. And I think it's something that I recommend people. It's on Marvel. All this is on Marvel Unlimited for the most part, or will be soon. You go read this. If you like the Eternals and you're like, yeah, I want to learn more about the Eternals and just kind of about the characters, go read this. This is fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because it just came out. Kieran Gillen's a freaking great writer. I almost feel he's underrated, but he's a pretty popular writer, but he's really good. Like, he writes the Eternals really, really well. And I don't love everything he does either. His Dr. Aphra stuff, but that's a whole different podcast. But the Eternals, I think he does it. He nails it. I think he does a fantastic job. And I got to tell you, to be honest, I not only love the shout out to Burger King. Yes, Adam, thank you. Not only do I love this series, but I got to tell you, man, his one-shots are great. This one in particular. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, not this one. This one, Thanos Rises. Go pick up this book. This is a must-read, I think, for anyone who loves the MCU. If you love the MCU and you like the Eternals, you don't have to love it, but you have to like if you like the Eternals and the concepts of it and the big heady stuff, and you love Thanos, read this comic book. This is a must-read for anyone who likes Thanos, who wants to learn about Thanos and the Eternals and his connection to the Eternals. All that is addressed, and I'm not sure if it was Again, I don't know how much was done beforehand. I did not read the original Thanos origin comic that came out by Jason Aaron and Simone Bianchi. I always mispronounce that name. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bianchi. I have it. I never read it. I never got around to it. But this comic book, it's the art by Dustin Weaver is great. It's a one shot. It's super good. I love this comic book. And I'm going to rave about it next week. I wanted to save it for the show, but Chris, eventually you should check this book out. I think you'll be really into this. It's really interesting.
I've read the first 5 issues of the monthly. I have not read the one-shots.
Yeah. Are you picking up the one-shots?
No, I don't think they pulled them for me, so I'm going to have to remedy that.
Well, I recommend reading them, but you have to read this one. People, if you like comic books, if you like Thanos, if you like the Eternals, read this comic. I can't stress it enough. It's so good. It's so good. I don't even want to spoil it for you because it really is. I'll just say it's basically Thanos' origin, but explains it from the Eternals' perspective. Kind of. Just go with it. And it's really cool. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought Kieran knocked it out of the park. And this one was pretty cool too. It really got into more of the idea of the Celestials and things like that. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Again, they kind of bring in a lot more of the current Eternal stuff. I liked it. It was really, again, a really quick read, but really, really worthwhile. Again, not as good as the Thanos book, but pretty good. Good stuff to kind of get more into the Eternals for the greater 616 universe stuff. I liked it a lot. And then this is the latest issue, This is the latest issue of where they're going to go in with the new Eternal series, and I like it where it's going. It doesn't surprise me they're going this route, but it's interesting. Go pick up this book. Eternals is a good series, man. I didn't think I would say that, but it's a good series. So if you like the Eternals, go read it, man. Again, the trade is out. Go pick it up. It's super, super good. The one shots are fantastic. Go read the one shots, and then it's picking up where it left off. And I really do think people need to give this series attention because it's good. It's good. So yeah, Chris, go read it as soon as you can.
Yeah, the first 5 issues were great. And
you did read them?
The first 5, yeah.
Okay.
But the nice thing about modern Marvel is that chances are they're going to pump out a new monthly to try and kind of coincide with a movie that's coming out. So I thought the first couple in particular did a really good job of setting the stage for who the characters are. And, it's absolutely worth reading. Gillen, I think I like Gillen maybe more than you do, at least in terms of, I think I like his Vader more than you did. But
I like most of it. It lulls in the middle a little bit for me, but then it gets better at the end.
But still generally solid overall.
No, I agree with that. No, I didn't like his afro as much. And then Steven Spurrier picked up, and then when they started co-writing together, Steven Spurrier, it really picked up, and then Spurrier took over, and I thought it was much better. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, I like Gillen. I was a little surprised that I didn't like his afro as much as I was anticipating, but again, I like Gillen stuff.
I haven't read his run on the main book, but I've heard it's not bad. He actually wrote, I think his only DC credit is a one-shot starring Lex Luthor that DC did during Villains Month back in like 2012, and that was solid. He seems like he's got a good understanding of Lex Luthor. But this is absolutely a series worth reading, especially if you want to kind of hit the ground running on who the Eternals are and have been in the real Marvel universe, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's really. I think you're right. I think it's a good.
We agree on something.
We agree on a lot more than. But I like it when we argue, though. It's better to disagree. No, I'm being serious though. I mean, like, because everyone can't have the same. Well, I know you know I love to argue, but seriously, it'd be boring if it's just two people being like, "It's so cool, dude." I know, man. It's like that's not very fun. I like to argue, mix it up, and not
we'll
just
do a live stream from Outback when we're eating about something we disagree about. How about that?
Oh God, oh man, we got. People don't even know
binge, the Outback taste.
The Outback.
The comic binge Outback instead of
right.
the Beatles Get Back. Right.
Ooh, I like that. So yeah, we'll wrap up this show. Again, everyone, thanks for watching. If you do, I appreciate everyone who's gone on. Check out my new online part 1 comic book, The Space Demons, on Webtoon. Go check it out.
That is something that we can agree on. That is.
Thank you. And it's mainly because I know
it's great all around. It's a great book.
It's because of Antonio. The art's the reason why it's good. It's the freaking art's amazing. It's so good.
The writing's solid.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's only 6 pages, but we're hoping to get. It's looking like into next year, early next year, we'll get the part 2 out, and then hopefully we'll kind of go from there. He's hard at work. It's hard to draw when you got 2 kids and you're working full time, and
especially work like that.
I mean, Antonio is. Really he's legit. So he's legit, bro. Like dude's unreal. Antonio, if you're watching this, you're probably not, but if you are, love you. But yeah, check that out. Check my Twitter out at Herman22 with 2 N's. I hate this part. of the show. I hate it. But subscribe. But everyone who subscribed and liked videos and watches the videos, I appreciate it. It's again, the comic binge exists basically to get a group of people who love to learn, read, and just talk about comic books and make comic books. Is why I made Space Demons. Is I want to create a place for people to get on and to embrace the medium that I love so much, and I want to populate more and more and more, and that's kind of why this channel exists. So. Anyway, if you like and subscribe and help me get it out there more, it's not for me to make a living at this. It's literally just to mainly just make comic books, help me make comic books, and that's really it. I'm not looking to get big. I'm looking to just make art basically, and just promote the medium I love. And Chris knows that's a legit, that's all I care about. I don't care about the rest of that crap. So, and Chris is a most stand-up person in the universe. So if he says that, it's legit. And
you have my endorsement.
Well, and not only that, but if we ever had a falling out, like I've lost the way. That's all I gotta say. If I ever, I'm just saying, like if you ever left me on bad terms of the comic binge, I fucked up. That's all. That is a reality. That is a reality of any kind. People could say, "Oh, Paul, he went the other way." So anyway, I know it's not gonna happen, but I'm just saying. But everyone, thank you. Like, subscribe, follow us on all the channels. You Google, just type in the comic binge. You'll see the logo on all that stuff. You'll follow it. It's fun. Chris, where can people find you at?
Right there on Twitter at Chris Clow. And got a couple things cooking. It's hard to find. I do a lot of writing in my day job.
You are a great writer.
So it's hard to find time to write things that I want to write. Not that I don't want to write but you know what I mean. Like finding time for leisure writing is difficult.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I get it.
I'm kind of inspired recently to talk about something, and I feel like the best place to do that would probably be comics on consoles. But also, too, there's something I've been kicking around with. Paul knows very well what it is with the comic binge in mind.
I want you to do it, man. You need to do it.
And I'm getting closer. I'm still vetting people. So when that process is done, then I'm looking forward to sharing it with everybody.
I'm excited, man. I hope you gotta get out there. I want to get more. I'm trying to get the comic binge outside of just me because I don't want to just be all me. I want other people to not just talk about comic books, but give people, who are nervous about starting their own channels and I want to give people a space to do this stuff because obviously the space I have is like minuscule, but it's just, I want to just promote stuff and get people and build up people and help people do their thing. And you and everyone else out there, I mean, you don't really need help. You already got your own thing going on, but I mean, you know what I mean? Just get out there.
I need help.
No, you don't. You don't need help. You don't need help. You don't need me. But you don't at all. But here's the thing. But here's the thing though. I want people to use this channel to help to build themselves and build the things they love. That's all. It's why it exists. It's not just for me. And I never want the comic binge to be about just my thing. I want it to be promoting the medium that I love. So, and all that. So anyway, everyone, again, thanks for watching. I have one kind of cool announcement. Next week, I'm hoping to have multiple shows. We'll see how it goes. But one for sure, next week will be pre-reading to get hyped for Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm going to pick multiple titles, or I should say storylines, that we're going to talk about Spider-Man and what you can get you pumped up for to read right before No Way Home. That all will kind of, they kind of connect a little bit one way or another, and I'll talk about that. But I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. I may just be by myself. I may grab someone and be like, hey, I need someone here to spit off of, basically. But either way, sometime next week, I will be doing a live stream about what to get hyped for Spider-Man. I'm super stoked. I've got 2 stories. I may get one more in there. We'll see. But I think these 2 stories at least will be, whet your appetite for the next week afterwards and get you hyped. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So next week, Spider-Man hype comic books for No Way Home. So yeah, check it out there. So again, thanks for watching, liking, and Chris, take us out, my friend, as always.
Read more comics.
Ooh, I like this. I like the Spidey there. Yes.